Welcome to the Tarryn Reeves Show, the podcast for elite entrepreneurs, visionary leaders, and high-impact CEOs who are ready to grow their brand, amplify their message, and build a legacy. I'm your host, Tarryn Reeves, multiple international best-selling author, publishing strategist, and founder of Automatic Authority Publishing and Press House. Each week, we dive into powerful conversations with trailblazing entrepreneurs and changemakers who are using storytelling to scale their business and impact. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for a dose of inspiration, strategy, and the truth behind what it really takes to turn your wisdom into wealth. What connects us all? It's stories. Whether it's a flickering Netflix scene, a dog-eared book, or a conversation over coffee, stories are the thread that binds us. And today's guest knows this better than most. Brandy Whalen is a storyteller at heart and a champion of human connection. She's the co-founder of Kitcaster, a podcast booking agency that matches powerful voices with platforms ready to amplify them. Brandy has a gift for turning life's messy moments, those quirks, pivots, and plot twists, into narratives that captivate and connect. Part wordsmith, part magic maker, she believes that even the most ordinary experiences can become extraordinary when told with heart. Through her work, she helps entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and visionaries find the story behind their story and share it with the world. Get ready for a conversation that celebrates the beauty of imperfection and the power of owning your journey. Welcome to the show, Brandy.
Thank you, Tarryn. I'm excited to be here.
My absolute pleasure. I'm excited to have you. And storytelling is obviously something that I'm super passionate about. For those of you who are watching and listening and following along, I own the publishing company. You help people get on podcasts. Obviously, I have a podcast. So I'm super excited for this. So let's talk about your story first.
Sure.
And what led you to, I believe, co-found Kitcaster. Yeah.
Yes.
How did storytelling and podcasting become such a central pillar of your work?
Yeah, I have always loved stories. I think growing up an only child until I was 11, I survived boredom through stories. And whether it be reading stories, watching stories, listening to stories, creating stories, I would create narratives and worlds in my own little world of creativity. So it was really, I think, a source of survival for me growing up. And then into adulthood, just seeing how impactful it is for everyone to have a story, to feel connected to what they're doing. Every single one of us wants to be driven by a purpose. I truly do believe that. And sometimes people don't really know, like they think they're just kind of doing this thing, like I work this job, I do this thing every day, and really figuring out what is like lying below that surface is important to me and should be important to everyone. So when I co-founded Kitcaster with Ryan Estes, he actually had a podcast for years. And it was all centered around business founders. So I had a small boutique PR agency, and I would get a lot of my clients on his podcast to talk about their story, their founder story, their business journey. And it was really interesting because I had this client and he was an engineer. He had a company that was really high tech, and he was very buttoned up, and I just had a really hard time kind of breaking him down, getting him out of the jargon that he liked to use and lean on, and getting him to seem just to humanize him. And so I had reached out to my co-founder, Ryan. We weren't working together at the time. It was purely just me pitching him particular guests. And he was like, yeah, I would love to interview your client. And he was like, in fact, I've been trying this new thing where I take my mobile audio kit and we go and have a picnic. And I was like, what? And he's like, yes. He's like, so bring your client. We're going to sit on a picnic blanket on this lake. We live in the States. We live in Denver, Colorado. And there's this park called Sloan's Lake. And so he's like, I'm going to set up a picnic blanket. We're going to have croissants. We're going to have coffee. And we're going to have conversation. And when I told my client that, he was like, wait a second, what? Like, we're going to be at a park? we're having a picnic in the morning. What is this?
Yeah.
But Tarryn, it was the first time that I ever saw him like just let his guard down and talk.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And his story is actually really incredible. And I had worked with him for probably a year and a half, never was able to break him down like that.
Mm.
And that's when I knew like this medium, this work, there's something there. And we needed to start Kitcaster so that we could have more experiences just like that.
That's beautiful. And sometimes all it takes is that change of scenery for some people, because I think we're quite conditioned to, you know, you're this way at home, you're this way at the office, you're this way on holiday, you're this way as a parent, you're this way as a friend. And we can really kind of box ourselves in like that. But when you give yourself permission to just own your story and be vulnerable and be brave and tell it like it is, there's such beauty in that, and I really believe healing.
Yes. Yeah, incredibly healing. I mean, I have actually seen that, and you probably have seen this just in interviewing people. When you get to that moment, you may ask them this question that they might not have been asked before. And you just watch the transformation happen. Like you can just see it. It's like this lift. They say the thing, and then all of a sudden you can just tell that they've been waiting for a very long time to uncover that.
Yeah. It's like that letting go and that expansion into that next level. I see it all the time with the book writing as well. You know, when we tell stories in written form, I think that speaking, and I hate speaking, like I'm a speaker. I hate speaking. I get so like sweaty and gross and nervous every time, but I do it because it helps me keep expanding. It helps me keep growing. And I think that that's beautiful. So do you, Kitcaster, right? I assume not all of your podcasts are picnic blankets by the lake, which sounds amazing, by the way. I assume it's your traditional podcasting as well.
Yeah. So actually, there hasn't been a podcast picnic blanket situation since that day, which is very sad.
Yes. What are you doing, Ryan? Come on.
I know. He does have a great podcast. It's actually AI for Founders. We need to get that picnic blanket back. But so what we do with our clients now is we look for opportunities for them to tell their story, and usually connecting with audiences that matter to them. And matter to them in ways, you know, whether it be they have an important founder journey that they need to share, perhaps it's getting in front of their ICP in a very meaningful way of sharing. You know, I think when we're thinking about how we market our brand and ourselves, we have these kind of very rigid guidelines to how we market, and we forget about the human side. And there's so much there that you can do in podcasting, speaking to the people that matter, that could potentially be your clients in a way that lets them know that you understand what is happening in their world.
Yeah. I love
so
that.
That is what we do. So we work to actually facilitate conversations. So we less of production and podcast production and more facilitation.
I love that. I love that you made the distinction, especially coming from a PR background, because we have a whole PR and media department for the publishing company that I founded. There is such a huge distinction about getting PR and getting exposure and marketing, and actually getting it in the right people, the right places where your ideal client is hanging out. Because I've seen, and I've been on the receiving end of many a lovely PR agency. They're like, oh, we're going to land you a feature in this, that, and the next thing, like Hollywood Digest, for example. And I'm like, my ideal client isn't reading Hollywood Digest, but thank you. That makes my ego feel really nice. You know, and I love that you made that distinction. So let's dive a little bit more into storytelling and founder-led marketing. Why do you believe that storytelling is one of the most underrated tools in a founder's marketing toolkit?
Well, I believe that storytelling is human biology. We, as humans, love stories. That is how we connect. That's how we connect. That's how we that's how we learn. It's how we everything, like anything that you absorb and truly absorb usually comes through a form of a story.
Yes.
So it is so incredibly important to be able to tell your story as a founder. I think that it is oftentimes overlooked and really hard for founders to do. I feel like everyone's been trained to almost this elevator pitch. Like, what's your elevator pitch?
Yeah.
Your boilerplate, these like little snippets that are so mechanical and just well tuned and just feel so not authentic or interesting a lot of times. And it's just take all that away.
Yeah.
And this founder led marketing is just showing people like you're a person, you have these real human experiences, you care deeply about this audience that you're serving. And here are the reasons why you care deeply for them. And I think there's so much competition out there. There's many people doing the same thing that you're doing. You, as in everyone,
Mm.
you have a company, there's likely 10 to 20 companies just similar to yours out
Yeah.
there. So what is going to make somebody choose you?
Mm. Yeah.
And it's that connection. It's that human connection, and I think that that can only come from a founder, honestly. I mean, it's like it's your vision. This company was started because of your vision, and it is an important vision to share.
Yeah.
And nobody cares about your business as much as you do.
Yeah. And nobody can tell the story like you can.
That's right. Yeah, you have that connection. You're the one who loses sleep at night. You're the one who maybe didn't collect a paycheck for a year or two to get this company lifted off the ground. Like those are the things that people will attach to.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the founders out there who, like your engineering friend, who feel like they're not natural storytellers, who are kind of boxed into that very rigid persona where they're professional, where do you recommend they start when they are trying to build a personal brand? Because this is what we're really talking about. It's the personal brand behind the business.
Yes, exactly. And it is hard. It's really hard to get people out of that mindset. As I mentioned about my engineering friend, it took me a year and a half. It was that moment that we were in a different environment,
Yeah.
asking different questions to get him to take a step back and just understand the 10 layers below what he had been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that is for, I think, a lot of people, it's hard to get there, especially for those folks who are not natural storytellers. And that's most everyone,
Yes.
honestly, especially in the spaces that we tend to work in, which is in innovation. But
Mm-hmm.
I always like to start with what's known to them. Like when I'm working with clients and trying to uncover some stories, I like to just peel it back from like, tell me a funny story from childhood.
Mm.
What did your dinner table look like growing up? What kind of food did you eat? Like, I just I want to understand. I want them to be able to paint a picture with something that they're very familiar with, like
Mm.
nothing to do with their business. This is very personal to them. I want to understand, what did your bedroom look like growing up? Did you have rock posters on the wall? Did you have a desk? Did you have like this giant computer setup? Did you have been engineering and coding since you were 5? Like, what did I want to hear those things? And once you get people talking about that shift to then what they're doing today and how they frame up those narratives becomes easier.
Mm. Yeah. I'm wondering what's your opinion on, because I believe storytelling is one of the oldest forms of communication. It's how we pass down laws, it's how we learned, it's how we connected, it's how we survived from way back when. And
Yeah.
it has endured. The formats may have changed, but it's now 2025 at the time of recording, and it has endured. We now have ebooks and all of the things, which is great. I'm wondering, I believe we're born natural storytellers. And I
Yeah.
think that it's only through our exposure to tech and marketing and societal expectations of who you should and shouldn't be that we lose that ability to connect truly with others.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's interesting because I've observed children, and I don't know, and this has been talked about, so I'm not making some observation that hasn't been observed by others, but there is this time, like when kids are young and they're wild in their storytelling, right? Like sometimes their imaginations are just all over the place and you can't even follow them, but they're excited to tell the story. And then you're right. Like something happens when they start to gain this awareness that people are judging them,
Mm,
or that there's outside input that's coming into their world and kind of destroying that like creative, the imagination. And I've seen it happen around like age, it's like very sad. I feel like it happens around like age 8 or 9, like where they start to like get self-conscious. They start to think about what they're saying. They really care about how they're showing up with their peers. And
yeah,
it is what society, it's what's being fed to them via all the things. And some
yeah,
people are resistant to it and they don't care. And they're like, I'm going to be who I am always and ever.
yeah.
But I think that's really rare.
It is rare. My daughter's 8 at the moment. She's almost 9, and I'm seeing that at the moment. And the way that you just put that into the words, like, really hit me, because I've been putting up with the tantrums and the I hate yous for asking you to get dressed, that sort of thing. And I can really see this push and this change in her, and it is sad that many of us lose that. But I also think that today's generations are different, and I had to laugh at the beginning of our conversation because you said I survived boredom through stories, and we did, because we didn't have iPads, we didn't have iPhones, we didn't have iPods back in our generation. I'm showing my age now, but it's true. We were
Yeah.
forced to experience boredom. There wasn't any, and I see this real entitlement in children now to, it is your job to entertain me. And I
Yep.
cannot not have anything to do for longer than 15 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to have a tantrum. It's this constant need for stimulation. Whereas when we were growing up, I mean, I grew up in Africa, which I think is quite a different upbringing to the US. But I expected to be bored. And so I
Yeah.
built forts. I learned how to make rope out of tree bark. I went horse riding. I flew kites. I colored in. I wrote books. I read books. I was the nerd at the party, and I still am, who brings a book. Like, I seriously do. I'm that person. Like, no, like, I can talk to you for 10 minutes, but then I'm going to read my book, okay? And I think it is sad how our younger generations are losing that ability to not even just tell stories, but to communicate with other humans face to face, because now they have a screen in the way. And so your customer service areas are breaking down. Your ability to brainstorm at a work table in person is breaking down. And honestly, I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, I think we should be. I think there's lots of reasons to be concerned. And I think it also is infiltrating adults as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it, all kind of stems from us, right? And I lose sight all the time of how much I was actually talking to a client about this today. You know how people are always like, I had this amazing idea in the shower, and they're like, call it shower ideas. And I'm like, no, it's just like the one time in the day that you're not distracted.
Yes.
There's nothing magical about the shower besides the fact that you're not looking at a phone, or you're not doing anything else but just being.
Mm,
So we need more of that. And we as adults forget about that time when we were young and bored out of our minds, but not bored out of our minds. Like I had a great time by myself.
yeah, me too. I still have a great time by myself. Like, I'll take myself to
Yes.
the movies, and they're like, oh, how can you do that? I'm like, because it's nice and peaceful.
So
That's
nice and
why.
peaceful. And I have like told, and I know like even just thinking about imposter syndrome, right? Like I have told myself these stories, like I've put myself in situations I probably shouldn't have been in. Like
Hmm.
on paper, I probably did not belong in certain rooms just because I didn't have the qualifications. But I told myself I belonged there.
Yeah.
And And I did it. And it was great. And it was fine. But that's a part of it too, is like you have to push yourself. And a lot of times we push ourselves through the stories that we tell to ourselves
Well,
or not tell.
exactly. I mean, our reality really is just a story that we're telling ourselves based on past experiences, our present view on things, and our current expectations. Like your reality is literally a mythical story that you are telling yourself.
Yes. And you have this reality and somebody else has a completely different reality, but you could be living in the same house.
I know. And that to me just blows my mind. That is wild. But there's such power there. There is such power there because if you are sitting in the middle of your story and you're like, I'm really not having fun, I do not like this, you can change it. If you're brave enough, if you're willing to get a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, you're already uncomfortable if you're not happy. So, I mean, it's a little bit, how uncomfortable are you willing to get? And I think it's Tony Robbins who has that quote, who's something, I'm going to butcher the hell out of this, but it's something like, people will only change when the pain of what their experience becomes greater than the pain of changing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I've heard that. Yes. And I love that. And it is so true.
It is so true. So true. All right, we had a little segue there, but let's get back.
We did. I know, but it's all relevant, right?
It's all relevant. It all makes sense. But I want to understand, what are some of the mistakes that you see founders and entrepreneurs making when they're trying to communicate their message, and how can they work to, I was going to say fix it, but I don't think fix is the right word. How can they work to become more authentic in their storytelling?
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of times founders will talk to be understood instead of talking to be known. And those are two very different things. You don't need everyone to understand you. You just need the right people to recognize themselves in what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is what happens so many times, and it's just like that. You just need the right people to understand and connect to your message.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a huge disconnect that a lot of founders make in communicating.
Yeah. I mean, storytelling really is, if we want to be kind of businessy about it, storytelling is marketing. And you cannot market to everybody. You can sell to everybody, but you cannot market to everybody. So let's talk about owning your story then, because stories really are a source of strength. And if we want to get businessy, they're a strength in your marketing arsenal to help you stand out from everybody on Facebook and Instagram. They're your strength when you're on a podcast, because your ideal client is sitting out there and they hear something that you say, or a story that you shared from childhood, or an opinion that you have, and they go, I recognize this person. It happens subconsciously. This is my person. I like this person. Or the opposite, which is just as beautiful, may I say it, your haters, and I call it self-weeding. They're self-weeding themselves out of your ecosystem. Like, oh, I hated the sound of her voice. She's so annoying. I don't believe that same thing. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Good. Because then you're not wasting your time hopping on sales calls or trying to write pieces of copy in your sales funnels for that person, because they're not your person. Then there's the imposter syndrome thing. And like I said, I hate speaking. I still do it. But I also don't think that there's any founder ever, no matter how successful they are, who still doesn't experience imposter syndrome, or the little self-critic in their head that says they're not doing well enough, even when they're, turning over trillions, that oh, I could have done that better. Why are you so stupid? It's that little nasty voice. How can storytelling act as a tool for overcoming imposter syndrome, for owning our strength, especially when we're stepping into more visible roles?
Yeah, well, and I think it's being authentic in your storytelling. I think that's number one, and that kind of hits on a point that you made. It's connecting with people. They're either going to connect with you or they're not.
Yeah.
But finding that authentic voice that's true to you, that's really true. I mean, I think that a lot of people will adopt a voice that's not true to them for the sake of like trying to be all the things to everyone.
Yeah.
but that's never how you should look at it. And I think once you own that and you understand that this is my story, this is the story, this is why I do what I do, this is why I get out of bed every morning,
Mm.
and this is why this work is important. It's and then realizing that you're not gonna be for everyone and be okay with that. And
Yeah.
I think that's the first step to overcoming that. But, like, let's not kid ourselves. Like you said, everybody has imposter syndrome at some level.
Yes.
Even at the highest level, people who are in we could look at them and say that they're the most successful people that we've ever known or seen. Everyone has imposter syndrome, and I think the more that you're able to, like, really know who you are
Mm.
and what you're doing and why you're doing it, and having the correct story that feels good to you and authentic to you, I think the less you have of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's talk about strategic brand building then, because podcasting really is a part of strategic brand building. There's very few people who do it just for fun. There are people who do it just for fun,
Yeah.
but it is part of strategic brand building.
Mhm.
How does storytelling tie into building a brand strategically?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like, storytelling is just such an important piece of your brand, and you think about some of the most powerful brands that you feel like you're personally connected with, and I don't know if you've watched the Dove ads, for example, Dove, the soap brand.
Yeah.
But they have, like, definitely gone in hard to, like, social issues, and they give you kind of, like, their branding is through storytelling that gives you kind of all the feels.
Yeah.
Like, when you're watching it, you're like, "This is making me somewhat uncomfortable. I don't really know what this is about," until you get to the end and you're like, "Whoa,
Mm.
that was wild." I did not see that coming. I did not realize that that was going to be a soap brand that was delivering me that message, but that felt, that just it hits in a place, and I think that that is what is important with brand building and storytelling. It's like getting people to emotionally connect with something, and something that, like, in your wildest dreams, could you think that you could emotionally connect with a soap brand?
Mm. Yeah. I took my daughter to Lilo and Stitch the other day, and you know how at the beginning of movies you have adverts.
Yeah.
I cried in an advert for an insurance company because of the story that they were telling. And my daughter's looking at me. She goes, "Mommy, what's wrong? The movie hasn't even started," because I'm a crier. Anyway, she's like, "It's the insurance ad, Mum." I'm like, "I know, but the story." And they had so masterfully done it. And honestly, I have background in marketing as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the marketing that's coming out now is absolute garbage. I'm sorry, it's
It's really
garbage. It
bad.
makes no sense. It's terrible. But every now and again, you get this ad that kind of shines through, and you just go, "Holy moly." First of all, my business brain goes, "I want to talk to the person who created this ad because they're a genius."
Yes.
And then I'm like, "Oh, that's amazing. I wonder if anyone else is experiencing, this, or if it's just me because of my perspective on the world." And it can create such a connection. And you're absolutely
Mhm.
right. It's when you're able to do things like that that people start thinking differently about your brand, because that insurance company has just been a list in the 50 plus insurance companies, for example, that I see every year when I go to renew my insurance for my car or my home. Now I'm going to go, "Ooh, like I'm going to have a special affinity with that brand because they made me feel something."
Yes. Yeah. And it's not easy to do, and it's tricky, right? Because there is that place where, like, something can feel too overdone.
Mm.
It can feel like it's disconnected, like it doesn't make any sense. Like, if that insurance, I don't know what that commercial was, the advertisement
I'll have
was,
to
but
send it to you after, because honestly, it's genius
yeah,
to
I
share.
would love to see it. I would love to see it. I love all of that. I mean, um I don't do you know Burt's Bees?
I do. Yeah, they put
Yeah.
beeswax and honey and all of their well-being and body products.
Yeah, and the founder is just like a total goofball.
Oh,
And they'll
really?
like they have this whole like commercial series like who's Bert, you know? And he's a wild guy and it's just so fun. Like I'm like every time I see Burt's Bees, like I don't even know if I necessarily like love Burt's Bees, but I
Yeah,
buy it because I'm like Bert seems
like
really cool. Like like Bert doesn't care about anything. Bert likes bees. He's a hippie. He's like whatever happens happens, you know, and I can get down with that.
yeah,
So, I just think it's really important to just have that connection. Like and not everyone's going to love Bert,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I do.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's their loss because I think Bert sounds like a cool guy. But everything that we're just talking about, these are the things that make you stand out in a saturated media space, not your regurgitated elevator pitch, not your business card, not any of those things. And it takes courage to tell your story. And you said that some of the techniques that you use are getting people to talk about their childhood and what their rooms look like and things like that. So getting in touch with those parts of yourself that you may have sidelined for a while can be really
Mhm.
helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think, you know, I think part of the storytelling too that I like to encourage my clients to use during podcast conversations, because a lot of times they are talking to audiences in their particular niche. So they want to be sharing some like what they do, like what their company does. It's just in podcasting, you kind of bounce between personal and professional, which is also interesting in a medium. And for them to be able to get like paint the picture, like you're talking to your ideal client. What does their current situation look like? What does this look like for them? How are they currently doing things? And like really paint the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Like what does their day look like? What is their pain? What are they going home worrying about? Because that's oftentimes when people like what keeps them up at night or what they think about when they should be eating dinner with their family and paying attention to what their kids are saying, but they're off in another planet worrying about something. Hit that.
Mm.
Talk about
We
that.
say when we're working with our ideal client, because obviously we tell stories in books. I specifically work with entrepreneurs to tell stories in books that generate leads and grow their business. One of the key things that I say is you need to hit the point that what they're feeling or worrying about that they're too scared to say out loud.
Yes.
When you're able to nail that and give them the understanding that you get it and you have the solution or the pathway to solve that problem, it's gold.
Yep,
Absolutely.
I 100% agree with you, and that is exactly what I try to tell people. And it's sometimes not, I mean, it's just everyone always thinks that it's like ROI or the money, right? But it's like it's the emotion. Emotion. At the end of the day, yes, of course, like it has to fall within their budget, but you've got to hit a place that they don't even know.
And once you've done that really well, even if it is a little bit outside their budget, they usually find a way to work with you because they know that you are their person. And then you've built that relationship. And then what does that do? That gives you referral marketing, which is the best marketing that you can possibly have. So
Yeah,
it's well
absolutely.
worthwhile doing this storytelling stuff. If you're sitting there with your engineering background or your science background, or you're just, a little bit of a meeker personality, that is totally okay. You can learn the skill set.
You can. You
I
can.
know
And
Brandy. Her name's Brandy. Go check her out.
and it's not even, it's actually everyone. I feel like everyone kind of struggles a bit with this. And especially when you're talking about yourself and
Yeah.
trying to kind of create a narrative. And a lot of times people, and you may have experienced this with all the work that you've done with your clients and people you've had on your podcast, but sometimes people will say, I've had like 5 different careers at like I started here and then I moved over here and then I went here and none of them make any sense.
Yeah.
And then when they start talking, you're like, no, all of it makes sense.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. Do you understand what that is? Like you
Yeah.
just said that thing. Every time that you mentioned something that you did in your career, it had this common element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you just said that out loud 5 times in a different context.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, whoa." They're like, "I thought I was just lost and I didn't know, I like a forever career changer and had all these, it was just misguided." And it's like, "No, this is your thing and you've done
Yeah.
that every single time you've moved to a different
Yeah.
role."
You're not lost. You're on a grand adventure. It's amazing.
It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. And that's the empowering part too. And because those words, when somebody says that they're misguided, or a lot of times they speak about these career shifts in a negative way, and you can tell that there's some underlying feelings around that. And then once they understand, then again, what you mentioned earlier, everything is a little lighter. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's great."
So, do we believe that storytelling is now reshaping public relations and marketing for business leaders moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it absolutely should have always been a part of how brands are communicating to the world. It should always be through stories. And I think even more so now, when we're being fed so much, and so much that's generated by non-human voices, and it's hard to know what's real, what's not real anymore. But what we do know, what we can hold true, is hearing a story from somebody, from a representative of a particular brand that shows like true care, vision, compassion, enthusiasm. It has to be more present than ever, because I feel like we're so disconnected.
Mm, yeah. So, where do you see podcasting as a particular medium fitting into the future of authentic brand communication?
And I think it's crucial to authentic brand communication. I feel like it's one of the few mediums that I think you can tell stories, and like low barrier to entry, right? Tell stories.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like it's interesting because people will say there's too many podcasts, there's so much content out there, it's overwhelming, but there's a place for everyone.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yes, you may have some shared experiences, but your experience is unique.
Mm.
Every single individual has a unique experience.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Brandy, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us on the show today. But before I let you run away and tell more stories on other platforms, we want to know, what book has impacted you either personally or professionally?
Yes. Okay. So Joan Didion, The Year of Magical Thinking.
Ooh, good one. Yeah.
It is the most beautiful book I have ever read, and I could read it over and over again.
Why do you think she did such a good job?
I feel like she uncovered grief in such a beautiful way that I just don't think anybody has ever done before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a grief is a human experience that we all have had and will have
Yeah.
and continue to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. All right. For those of you who want to connect with Brandy and get booked on some awesome podcasts like this one, then reach out to her via the links in the show notes. And Brandy, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so wonderful.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tarryn Reeves Show. If today's episode lit a fire in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story that could transform your business. If you're ready to write the book that positions you as the go-to authority in your industry, visit automaticauthority.com to find out how we can help you make it happen. Until next time, keep owning your story, leading with impact, and building a legacy.